Good evening, everyone, and I welcome all of you to Sound of Her Voice, a panel discussion on women's rights, which is a joint initiative by the Rotaract Club of University of Colombo, School of Computing, Rotaract Club of Simara, Bara, Rotary Club of Colombo Downtown, and the Intra Club of Mahanama College. I'm Radia Hassan, and I will be the moderator for today's discussion. So before starting off, I would like to welcome our wonderful panelists for the day. Ms. Chamitri Rambukwella, the former Second Secretary to the Sri Lankan Mission to UN New York, and Mr. Bijay Kumar Shah, the Joint Secretary of the Rotaract Club of Simara, Bara. It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent. Said by Madeleine Albright. A woman is an extraordinary character who plays different roles in their daily life. At times, she's a caring mother. At times, she's a loving daughter. At times, she's a cheerful friend. And at times, she's a faithful wife. Throughout history, women's voices have been silenced, ignored, or suppressed in many ways. Women have often been told to keep quiet and accept their place in society despite experiencing discrimination and inequality. We celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th of March each year to recognize the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women and to advocate for gender equality. Today, International Women's Day serves as a platform to raise awareness about the ongoing struggle for women's rights and gender parity. It is a day to honor the achievements of women throughout history and to celebrate their contributions to society. International Women's Day also reminds us of the importance of women's voices and the value of their contributions to society. It is a day to stand in solidarity with women and to advocate for their rights and well-being. So today, we're going to have the discussion based on some of the real-life scenarios faced by women around the world in order to bring out the importance of women's rights. So some of the scenarios like their political representation, how they have to face domestic violence, the gender pay gap in the industries, and also what's a men's role in evaluating gender equality among the society. So before stepping into the discussion, I would like to mention y'all that halfway through the discussion, there will be a fun-filled, interesting quiz round. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, so now we'll start today's discussion. So first of all, to start off with today's discussion, I would like to hand over the first question to Ms. Chamitri. Ma'am, what do you think about the women's political representation in the countries around the world?
Hi, Radia.
What's your opinion about it?
Sorry, I didn't catch the last part of your question.
Ma'am, so what do you think about the women's political representation in the countries around the world? What's your opinion about it?
Firstly, Radia, thank you so much for inviting me for this talk and to speak to all of you. I consider it a privilege, and I thank all of you for organizing this because it's a very timely topic and it's a very important topic. You asked about women political representation. I'm going to start off with a bit of statistics. I wonder if any of you know what are the countries that have the highest women political participation in the world. I think you would be surprised to know which countries those are, because it is not the Western front that we would usually like to think that they would have women representation and equal rights and all of that. However, it is a country in Africa that has the highest women representation in their elected bodies, and it is Rwanda. And if you look at the Rwandan development that has happened, because Rwanda is also a country that has gone through a massive genocide, a war, if you may, and had destruction till the early 90s and even into the late 90s. But you have to see the kind of development that has happened in Rwanda, and that I think it is because half the population is women, right? And you have representation of women in their elected bodies, and they have about 61%, if I'm not mistaken, of women in parliament. But in Sri Lanka, very sad to say, even with, I mean, we've done a lot of things to try and fix this, because we've tried to bring in the quota system, which unfortunately is only limited to giving nominations. So you force or you guide parties, political parties in Sri Lanka, with the quotation that you have, this is your quota, you have to have this many women in your nomination to get your lists approved. But that does not necessarily translate into electing women into elective bodies like the parliament. So unfortunately, even though there is a quota, Sri Lanka only has 5.3% women in parliament. We have 12 out of 225, which is a very, very small number, given that Sri Lanka's population, half the population is 51%, more than half actually are women. But our representation in political bodies are very, very minimal. Now, this is not something I believe, this is my personal opinion. I don't believe that you can fix this problem with introducing a quota system, because you cannot force people to elect a certain person. It is a mindset that we need to build in society. It is quite unfortunate actually, because not even women vote for women. Because I mean, if you look at the numbers, 51% of society is women. However, we have only 5.3% in parliament. So not even women vote for women. And why is that? Let us, I mean, we need to ask the difficult question. Why is that? We have an electoral system which requires us to, which by the system itself, women are at a disadvantage. Because I don't know if you have studied the electoral system of Sri Lanka. They have to run the entire district. Now men get the freedom to do that because their wife or their siblings or their parents or their mothers sit at home and take care of the children, take care of everything else that's going around. So men have all the freedom in the world to run around an entire district collecting votes. However, a woman is restricted in that sense. So we need to build a mindset where we are able to, I mean, we see women as leaders in a lot of spheres, except for the political sphere. We boast, Sri Lanka boasts of the first woman prime minister in the world. And yet we have only gone down from that. So we need to think of ways how to build the mindset. And that is not something just women can do. It has to be a collective effort. And we need the support of men in society in order to do that. So I think even I was looking at the topics of discussion for you guys. It's a wide range of topics which cover all these areas. And I think that the more productive discussion, the more progressive discussion we have, it's going to be a slow road ahead, but we have to have those difficult discussions. It is a slow road ahead. We cannot give up. We cannot celebrate International Women's Day one day of the year and think, oh, great, you know what, we've done our part. You know, even if you look at all the companies in Sri Lanka, the big companies, the big private companies, they all celebrated Women's Day by doing something for the women who work in their companies. But however, are they addressing, once International Women's Day is over, are they addressing the equal pay gap? Are they addressing issues, the harassment women face even in the workplace? Those are the pertinent issues. And I think if we all kind of create a conversation in society and continue that conversation and not just limit it to one day, eventually it will filter into the political sphere, the business sphere, and the country will benefit, because by excluding women from decision-making processes, whether it's business, economy, or politics, you're excluding 51% of the population of the country. And that's a massive part. you are not tapping into the knowledge, you're not tapping into the expertise, you're not tapping into the talents of that 51%. So I think as society, we need to continue these conversations, and I'm glad that young people like you are like getting involved and getting, you know, I hope that you will continue this conversation and not just limit it to this talk. And I can see a few males on the list. It's great to see that. I am very happy that the other panel speaker is a man, because it's good to get their perspective as well, because we have to all collectively join together and get on board with this concept. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. That was wonderful.
Also, Radhya, I'm going to disturb you for 1 second. Please don't call me ma'am. You can call me Chamitri. You make me sound very old.
Okay, Chamitri. Sorry for that. Okay, great. So now I think y'all got a great understanding of what ma'am told about. So now we can move on to the next question. So before moving on, I want to mention y'all that you can ask out your questions at any time through the chat box or through using the raise hand options from our loving speakers. Yes, so now we can move on to our second question. So from the past, the women were treated in a very unfair manner at their homes. So we know that their husbands come home drunk and treat them very badly. So Mr. Bijay, what do you think about this scenario? Are women deserve to be treated like this? So can we have some opinions from you, sir?
Look, thank you, Radha, for interesting question for me. Yes. This is not good, and this against to the women's rights. In
Sir, is there any issue from your end? Like, we can't hear you, sir. Mr. Vijay, sir, can you hear me, or is there any? Sir, we can't hear you. I think there is a connection issue or any from your end. Okay, so until our speaker gets solved his problem, so I think we can direct that question to our other panelist, Ms. Chamitri. Can we have some opinions from you, ma'am? Sorry, Ms. Chamitri.
No, that's perfectly all right. I think there's connection issues all over. I think even in Sri Lanka, it's raining, and where I am, it's raining. So I have a bit of connection issues as well. So maybe we'll get him back on board. But to keep it very short and answer your question, yes, it's a big problem. It is problematic. And I mean, domestic violence, especially in the low income regions in the country, are very, very prevalent. Then we saw a serious spike of domestic violence during COVID. because people were restricted to their home fronts, and there was a serious spike in the cases of domestic violence. And it's extremely, like I said again, I think it's about being aware, creating awareness and education regarding issues such as this, because we are traditionally a very patriarchal society. We hero worship our men. And that's, you know, that's fine, because for me, okay, I am not a feminist in the traditional sense of the word. I need to clarify that, because it's very controversial when I say this, especially to women. I am not a feminist. I believe in equity. I believe in equity over equality. I don't know, let me clarify that, because equity is, not everyone has the same standards, right? So when you treat people with equity, you are giving everyone the necessary tools that they need, because the tools that I may need are not the tools that you may need, right? But equality means giving you the same thing and me the same. Again, you're creating a disadvantageous position. Now in Sri Lanka, we have a system that we have in every sphere, even when you come to free education, free health, with the welfare system, it's a lot about equality than about equity, right? So there's no point giving the same resources or the same tools to a tea plucker in an estate in Nuwara and giving me the same tools, because the tools that are needed are different. And in order to lift up her lifestyle to mine, you have to be fair. That, for me, I believe in equity. So I'm not the equality. I want equality. I want equal rights kind of female. I'm not that kind of female. I believe that there are things that we can do that they cannot do. I believe there are things that they can do that we cannot do. However, I think what's important is respect, mutual respect, and the fact that you can freely be who you are in society, and for you to realize your full potential. So for me, this domestic violence issue is a serious issue, because we faced it, especially during COVID, in a massive way. And I don't think even, I mean, sometimes you go to the law enforcement agencies, you go to the police, and then you get kind of abused again, right? Because the police is constantly taking the side of the man or the perpetrator. This is not just with domestic violence, it happens also with rape, child abuse. I mean, you are abused multiple times by the system when you decide to make the complaint. And that is something that we need to address in society, that lawmakers need to address, that our policymakers need to address. And we need to provide the necessary skills to the law enforcement agencies like the police or even courts, where people are more empathetic, people are equipped better to handle a situation when a woman walks into a police station while she's already been abused by her husband, and incidentally, well, it's not a fun fact, it's a horrible fact, but many women, their abusers are mostly people who are known to them, and mostly intimate partners, so husband, boyfriend, you know, people who you're intimately associated with, and that's the kind of thing that we need to address, and kind of talk to lawmakers, bring our issues to the policymakers, and kind of push that agenda forward.
Yes, ma'am. I think that point is something we have to take in mind. Thank you, ma'am. So yeah, Mr. BJ, is your issue is sorted now? Can we have some points added to Ms. Chamitri's points as well? Mr. BJ, can you hear me? I think still there is a issue from his end. So I think because of the time constraint, we have to move on. So yeah, moving on to the next scenario, which is a very common scenario in the present society. So a boy can walk alone at any hour in the night, but can a girl do? Can she reach safely without facing any troubles? So as Mr. Vijay is not here, can we again direct this question to Ms. Chamitri? So Ms. Chamitri, what do you think about this situation?
Everyone who's listening is now going to feel sick of hearing my voice. Uh, but at the risk of everyone getting sick of hearing my voice, I would also like to, I mean, since we still don't have Vijay on, if anyone wants to ask questions in the middle, I mean, please feel free to do so. Let's make it an interactive discussion because I would like to hear from you guys as well. But to your question, Radhya, I mean, you're a young woman. Do you feel safe walking on the road alone? Maybe, I mean, after 6, 7, 8 in the evening.
No, not at all.
Exactly. I mean, and you live in Colombo, right?
Yes, Chamitri.
So see now, this is the problem. Most women, you ask that question, will respond the way you respond. I would respond the same way. I mean, women get abused in public transport, and women. The sad thing is, there's so many. It happens so much, and it's so common that women are also now used to just keeping quiet. I think one thing that we as women first must do is we need to speak up without feeling like we are the ones at fault. Because if you're sitting in a bus and if you get groped, we feel like if we speak out, if a girl is in a pair of jeans and a top, and you're in the bus, you get groped, your fear is, if I speak out, people in the bus are going to think, oh, look at the way she's dressed, and she's complaining about being groped, right? But we must make it a norm. We must speak out fearlessly, because the more we suppress our voices, the more problematic and the more problems this will continue into, and it'll get worse. So, I mean, people use social media nowadays for all sorts of things, right? And I think not everything that they use social media are for good things. So we need to use social media in these instances, calling out people, naming and shaming. If it's a horrible thing when you're in the bus or in the train and you get groped. I mean, it happens in front of 50, 60 people, right? And still a man would have the nerve to walk up to a woman and touch her inappropriately or grope her inappropriately. And if we do not speak up, it'll continue. So I think even in cities like Colombo, which is very urban, very modern, very, very westernized, it still happens. I lived in New York for 8 years. Sometimes in certain areas in New York, it still happens. It's not a problem that only Sri Lanka faces. I think that is also another problem Sri Lankans have, because we think our problems are problems that only we have. And that's not true. And that kind of exposure you'll get if you actually open. You don't have to be traveling and living in other countries, but if you open your ears, and if you are actually open and willing to listen and read and know about what's going on in the world, you know that our economic crisis is not the only economic crisis in the world. Our political crisis is not the only political crisis in the world. We are not the only people who treat women badly or anyone badly. It's a worldwide problem. I mean, like I said, when I answered the first question, we would think that women representation, political representation, would be very high in the Western countries. It's not so. On the top 5, we don't have a single Western country. We have Rwanda, we have Cuba, we have Nicaragua. Nicaragua, Cuba, both Latin American countries. Rwanda is an African country, like I said. right? So we need to open our minds and ears and open ourselves out to the possibility that these are things that not only happens in Sri Lanka, but we can find solutions if we have these conversations. Because I'm going to say a few words in Sinhalese. මොකද මේක ලංකාවේ වෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක්ම නෙමෙයිනේ. එතකොට අනිත් රටවල් වලත් මේක වෙනවා නම් ඒ රටවල් වලත් මේ ප්‍රශ්නෙට උත්තර හොයන්න ඒගොල්ලන්වත් හදනවා. අපි විතරක් නෙමෙයි. So you can learn from best practices. You can pair up. Like, I mean, I know Vijay is from India. So India is a country that faces a lot, women face a lot of harassment. I mean, a girl child being born is considered, not so lucky. I'm not going to even say anything else, but, but in Sri Lanka, that's very, very low, that kind of thinking. However, we can learn from best practices from each other. And that has been made easy to us today in today's world, because we are all globally connected through the internet. We are all globally connected through social media. I mean, Vijay is able to sit in India and speak to us over Zoom. I'm able to connect with people from the world, and I've spoken at UN conferences just through Zoom, right? So the world has moved into a different place, and we don't need to physically meet. We don't need to physically have these conversations. We can always share best practices and how we can handle these questions. But one thing I have to say is that if there are men, young men on this, listening to this, my request to you is always think of, if a woman speaks up in a bus, if a woman speaks up in a train, if a woman is walking on the street and she's feeling unsafe, and you can see that there are some men walking behind her harassing her, go be her friend, go provide that protection to her. Because you have a mother, you have a sister, you have cousins, you have friends, you have a girlfriend, you have a wife.
I think panelist has faced some power cut issues from her end. Yeah, so until she comes back, can we have some thoughts and sharings from our fellow Indian retractors? So as Mr. Vijay is also not available, can we have someone else from your side as well?
Yeah, Radia, I'll be speaking.
Hi, great. Yeah. So
Thank you for having us. Firstly, I would like to say that we are not from India. We are from Nepal. Even Vijay is from Nepal. And we are not Indian Rotractors. We are Nepalese Rotractors. And we had I was enjoying the session. I think some electricity issue might have disturbed Ms. Chamitri. I was hearing the most of the scenarios she was discussing. I think it was related to Sri Lanka or something like that. I think we should be talking about the overall globe. What is the situation? Like the situation in our country, if I'll be talking about my scenario, our scenario, that is totally different. We have like in 33% parliamentary participation is for women. Our president is a woman. Our DG in police department is a woman. Most of the areas we have are like we are not even a developed country. We are a developing country, but still we have some laws that support women first. They get a better treatment, better support from the law, policymaker, police department, families, and there is not so much of issue that we face like in even developed country like India. Let us say we have heard many cases, rape cases and other cases that happens every time. I don't know why, what is the issue there. So that can be eradicated by making some laws as well, but only making law won't be doing that thing, I guess. It is a mindset of the people that needs to be changed. The perception has to be changed. The way they look at women has to be changed. And country like Nepal, we have what is like even a women are free to walk alone even after 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Here we don't have that kind of issue. Dress code is also not an issue. Women walk freely. They can wear what they want. They can talk with whom they want. They can walk with whomever they want. The only issue what we face in women is the superstitious. Not in overall country, but in some part of country, we have superstition on women. Like the thing like a domestic abuse. It is somewhere in our country too. Domestic abuse is everywhere. That is most happens in people who are not educated. The thing in village areas, this abuse is happening. To stop that kind of abuse, the woman need to complain, or she needs to address this issue someplace, like police station or anything. But even that will not solve. The thing what they have in mind is, what should a woman do if she complains about her husband to the police station? The police will be taking the man into the custody, but what she will do after that? What has to be done? Who will support her? So with that thing, the woman will never be complaining about the abuse she is facing. So there needs to be something more abstract, something more solid, that will support her, that would motivate her. I don't know, maybe some program, some educational system for the women in village might help, but there needs to be something concrete. Um, and hope that thing will happen soon enough everywhere. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Sunil. It's really amazing to see such freedom for women in your country, which is Nepal. So, like, I want to apologize for the misunderstanding. I mentioned before as India. So, yeah, sorry for that, Mr. Sunil. Yeah, so now as we have come halfway through the discussion, and we have gathered a lot of sharings and experience and opinions from both of our panelists. So now it's the time for a fun-filled, interesting quiz round. So now we'll be sending the quiz link through the chat box, and make sure to join in with a proper name. And we'll be starting the quiz in a while. So the link has been shared in the chat box, so you guys can start joining. Yes, so for ones who need the join code, you can see in the screen. So to start off with the quiz, please join in soon, guys. I'm sure this will be super fun. So still we have only few participants. So guys, make sure to join in soon. Hi guys, I'm back. Really sorry for the inconvenience. As I say, as Mr. Amit told, we are having a rain here, so there's a small connection issue. Right. So we can see the leaderboard, and we have Hey in the first place. And yeah, and we can see Nihara is taking the first place. Yes, so I think we can move on to the next question. Yes, so you guys can see a rapid change is happening in the leaderboard. So yeah, now it's time to announce the winners, and we got Pamudi Gurige in second place, and Hey, it's better if we can get the name of the person in the second place, and yeah, we got Nihara in the first place. Congratulations, guys! I hope you all enjoyed it well. Right. So now it's time for us to get back in with our discussion. So next up, this is a scenario where women face an inequality or unfairness in their monthly pay. So I think before Ms. Chamitri mentioned this as well. So, and also some specify only male candidates for certain work opportunities. So Mr. Vijay or anyone from your Rotaract club, can we have an opinion about this? And how this situation occurs in your country? Mr. Sunil, can we have some opinions from you all?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Regarding pay scale, the thing is, the scenario has not yet highly occurred in our area. Everything is on equal basis mostly, but I have observed or heard from someone that this is actually it happens opposite in our side. Like women are getting more and male are not getting more, but I don't know what causes that issue. Maybe uh, since I don't have much of idea on this, I think we'll pass it to our another panelist. Let's hear from her.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sunil. I think it's so nice to like hear so much value they have given. Really nice to hear. Yeah, so I think we can direct this question to Ms. Chamitri. Can we have your opinion on this?
Sure. I mean, actually, Sunil, you are very lucky that you haven't heard of this scenario in your country. I think Sri Lanka also not so much, but it does exist in Sri Lanka. More so, I feel women are not more than the gender pay gap. Opportunities at the top are less available for women than it is for a man. I think traditionally males who are at the top, and there's a position at the top that is vacant, they would always prefer to consider another man as opposed to getting another woman in there, because they're thinking of, oh, will this person go on maternity leave? This person has to balance her home life. She has to get home in time to like make the food for her husband and put it on the table and take care of her children. So that's the kind of questions that males at the top think about or go through when they're considering a woman for a position at the top. Now, gender pay gap is not something that, I mean, I think you are very lucky, Sunil, that you haven't heard it, but even in countries like the US, which is, I mean, constantly you're hearing the Western world talk about human rights and equality and equity and all of that. However, even in the US, to every dollar a man is paid, a woman is paid 82 cents. So there is a pay gap, gender pay gap, even in countries like that. So this is again a worldwide problem. Most of these issues that we as women face, not just issues that are in the developing world or in countries like ours. It's a worldwide issue, and so I think again, it's up to, I guess, men also to stand up for women. I think women have been standing up for ourselves for a very, very long time. It would be nice to see men in businesses, in the political sphere, in leadership, stand up for women and be not be insecure about women also reaching the same kind of heights that they would if presented with equal opportunity or equity. Rather. So I think it's a joint venture that we can take. As I mean, I know the University of Colombo is involved in this. So it starts in homes, it starts in schools. Then, you know, in universities, I don't know what the statistics right now are, but we had one point where there were more women in universities than men. So would you, I mean, what I would suggest is that you guys continue to have this kind of conversations, get your male students on board, get them to speak on your behalf, because you cannot do it with half the population. You have to get everyone on board. And the more they realize that this is not a competition between us and them, and there is a level of comfort where everyone has equal space to grow and develop and contribute to the development of a country or of a company or of a university, that's when there has to be a secure feeling. I feel like sometimes in conversations like that, in this, like, not just men versus women, but also certain other topics that are prevalent in society today, where, you know, people pit race against race or majority versus minority. It's a feeling of insecurity that takes precedence. So I think if we can address that feeling of insecurity and there's enough space for everyone to grow, men and women, and then contribute towards the development of a country or an institution, that's when you can kind of reduce the parity between the two. So I think it's up to all of us. Again, I must say that, Sunil, I mean, you guys are very lucky that you don't have this kind of problem. I've visited your country. It's a beautiful country, and I'm glad that these kind of issues don't come up. But for the rest of us, I think we can maybe look at the kind of model that they have followed in Nepal and apply it to our situation as well, because we're very similar in culture, we're very similar people. So these are things that we can apply to our society as well. So I think organizing conferences like this and talks like this is very important, because you can learn from best experiences that people like Sunil have faced in their country, and then apply it to our scenario as well.
Thank you, ma'am. As you told, I think like this kind of platforms are a good opportunity for us to know situations in around the world. For example, now we got to know that there is a very different kind of situation in Nepal. So yeah. So thank you, Mr. Sunil and Ms. Chamitri, for your thoughts on that scenario. So as the final question, Mr. Sunil, so being a man, how would you like to spread gender equality and spread awareness on women's rights in your country, or like in general? How would you spread the awareness? Can we hear some thoughts from you, sir?
Yeah. So regarding what I will suggest is even the main thing what even Chayamitri said, opportunity. That is the main thing. What we don't get, what we don't provide actually. So to be honest, men are not providing opportunities to women. Men, who are men? A father, a brother, a husband, a company boss, a politician. These men, they don't make laws, they don't make policies. Father or husband, they don't think woman can do anything, or they don't have that mindset that she can achieve what a man can. If we can change this perspective, if we can change this the way of thinking, then I think the world will be a better place with equal opportunity for both men and women, and everything will be balanced. But since there are factors always playing some roles, uh, not maybe the factors can be a superstition, the factor can be uneducation, illiteracy. The factor can be like Chamitri said, a woman has to cook food, a woman has to look after the children, a woman has to wash dishes, make the home ready. These factors. If you can remove this factor, why can't a man do these things? A man can even a man can do. If uh, an unmarried man does this thing on a regular basis, if he's working out of station, but when he gets married, he doesn't do that thing. A woman should, even an educated woman, if he marries an educated woman, what she will be doing is she will be doing the daily homeworks, and the men will go for office works. So being educated husband also, he is denying the opportunity. So what we can do is we can uh, provide, the main thing, we can provide opportunity. What we can do, we can request as a father, as a husband, as a brother, as a boss, as a politician, we can make rules, we can motivate her, we can provide opportunity in which she can prevail, she can use her skill set. And doing that, I think that can be my suggestion. That I don't know how much realistic it is, I don't know how much it can help, but I think if we can change the mindset of people, of men, then there won't be any issue like women discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
That would
Sonia.
be all.
Wonderful. Yes, I hope every man will think like this, and in the future there will be a change as well. Yes. So, Ms. Chamitri, is there anything you want to add on that topic?
Just one thing. I agree 100% with what Sunil said. I think creating awareness, providing education on this topic should also start at home, because it starts, the man is a boy child first, and that boy child is, a little seed is ingrained in that little child's, the male child's head, where the mother takes care of everything. And the parents tell you, if you have a sister, oh, it's fine, let the sister help with the housework, you go do your thing. So it's something that needs to start at home, which then needs to filter into schools and into universities and then greater society. So I think if we can create awareness programs together, maybe join together, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to massively spend money on these kind of things. You have social media nowadays, have voices speak out, and create awareness and start at home. Maybe not in my generation, but hopefully, when you're older and you all have children, and their generation will at least have a better platform than what we had when we were growing up. So I think we have to start somewhere, and now is a good time to start.
Yes, exactly, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, so now, um, from that, we have come to the end of the discussion. But this time is for our audience to speak up and clear out your questions. So you can use the chat box or the raise hand option to clear out and ask out your questions. Now it's your turn.
Hope you all can hear me. Radha, can you hear me?
Yes, Adila, you can go ahead.
Yes. Actually, I don't have a question, but I actually wanted to thank the panelists and people, those who contributed in sharing their thoughts. And your ability to articulate the complex ideas and communicate them in a clear manner was very impressive. It was nice to address the unique challenges faced by the women from different backgrounds, and also we got some ideas about the rights that women have, not only in Sri Lanka, in other countries like Nepal and all around the world. And thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much, Adila, for that sharing. Yes, so we have got a question here. So they've asked, what are some of the ways in which women's rights are interconnected with other social justice issues, like such as race, sexuality, and class? So can we get an answer from both of you?
Radia,
Samiti and
the line was a little unclear. Would you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure, Shamiti. So the question is, what are some of the ways in which women's rights are interconnected with other social justice issues like race and class and sexuality?
That's a very good question. So I'm going to attempt this first, and then maybe Sunil can give his opinion as well. I think any kind of social justice issue is interconnected because whether it's always a majority, minority, or the stronger class, the lesser stronger class issue, regardless of what issue it is, whether it's gender, whether it's sexuality, whether it's race, religion. So it's always interconnected because it's the same kind of issues, just specific to race or gender. And so the way you address it, the way you handle it, or how you address it, kind of interlaps between all the issues. So again, the change of attitude. How do you change one's attitude? How do you make one person's or society's mind more open to the possibilities of freedoms, of justices? So you have to kind of go on that line, I guess. And I mean, like I said, equity, for me, equity is more important than equality, regardless of what the issue is. I don't think that's one of the mistakes that we make as a society, where regardless of whatever issue we talk about, we kind of try to bring in equal rights as opposed to providing equity, whether it's gender, whether it's sexuality, whether it's race, religion, any of the social justice issues that are being talked in society these days. So for me, equity is more important. And I think we as a younger generation need to start thinking of, oh, by fairness, does it mean that you get one glass of water and I get one glass of water? But I already have one glass of water. So why would I need one more glass of water? As opposed to you give the person who doesn't have that one glass of water, the glass of water. right? So we need to think, we ourselves, we need to be fair, we need to think on those lines. And I think it's going to take time. I'm not saying that it's going to be a massive, it's going to be a quick transformation. We need to be open to, I mean, this is a controversial issue, but, you know, recently when two people in a relationship, I think from the University of Colombo, the male murdered the female because, well, the story that was in the news is because there was a rejection and she wanted to get out of the relationship. We need to be open to learn how to take no for an answer, regardless of what issue it is, and be open to kind of accommodate the other person's views. That is something that comes with change of attitude and change of perspective, changing the way we think. And so I think that is a challenge, but it's a challenge that we must take up for the future generations, at least, so that they don't face the same kind of issues that we have faced.
Exactly, ma'am. Thank you for answering the question. So, Mr. Sunil, do you have anything to add on that? I think, unfortunately, he's not on the line. Yes. So, Ms. Chamitri, we have got another question here. So what role do media and popular culture play in shaping attitude towards women and their rights? And how can they be, how can they promote positive change towards it?
Interesting question, because, oh my goodness, media sensationalizes everything these days, because whatever is gossip, whatever is sensationalized sells. And obviously media outlets are looking to make money, so they will sell what we ask. It's a supply and demand issue, right? So if that's what we as a society demand, that's what the media outlets are going to supply. Sensationalized news. I mean, I have stopped watching news these days on Sri Lankan news channels, because it's always about someone killing someone else or something horrible. And there's a lot of negative or negativity and negative vibes that are being sold on the news, because unfortunately we as a society, we look at someone else's misery and we kind of revel in it, which is not right, which is not, and by doing that, by constantly looking at negative things, we are also becoming negative people, and we are also putting out those negative vibes. So for me, media outlets, I think I actually believe that we need to bring in laws for media outlets as to what they can say and what they can't say. In order, see, there's a very fine line between freedom of speech and actually being a responsible media outlet, right? We are constantly talking about social justices, but we don't talk about our responsibilities towards those social justices. Yes, freedom of speech is very important, but it's also as important as not disturbing the other person by using your freedom of speech. You cannot use your freedom to encroach on someone else's freedom, whether it's freedom of speech, the right to women's rights, anything. You should not, because that's when the problem pops up. So media outlets, my honest opinion, right now they're doing a horrible job. How we can fix it? Media outlets give out or put out news items or put out programs that society asks for. So again, I put this on society. I'm saying we all must stand together, get together, build up a change of attitude in our society, because without doing that, there is no point in any of us talking. I mean, we condemn politicians, which is rightly so because they haven't done justice by our society and our country. However, we only have 225 parliamentarians. We have 22 million Sri Lankans. Politicians are not people that are gods. They don't fall down from the heavens. They are people that are elected from amongst us. And they are a direct reflection of what society is today. Today's society is not a nice place. And that is a direct reflection of what we see in our leaders, in our politicians. So if we want responsible leaders, we must be responsible leaders. If we want justice, we must be just individuals. If we want to see equity, more equality, we must bring in that change through ourselves. Yes, it will take time, but at least if we start now, and if all of us start thinking like that, maybe 10 years down the line, we will have that society that we all look forward to. If we do not start now, and if we are constantly pointing fingers and saying, you need to do this, it's not on me, it's on you, then we're never going to get there, not even in 10 years. So it's a decision that we have to make. We need to make that conscious decision about what is it that we want to see this country in 10 years, to see where women are in 10 years, to see where we are as a nation in 10 years. And we must all contribute towards that growth, towards that development, because it's not up to our leaders, it's not up to our businesses, it's not up to our media outlets alone. They will start changing the way they report the news. They will start changing the way they lead if that is not what we want. For as long as that is what we want, they will continue to do that because that is what sells. So I urge all of you young people, I mean, you guys are the ones out there in society, you all are the budding generation, you all are the generation that's starting off. So go out there and stand up for what is right, do what is right, and behave like the person that you want to see the society be. And then one by one, it will change. It will. I choose to believe that it will change.
Thank you. That was really nice way of answering. Yes. So I think can we get some opinions from you as well, Mr. Sunim?
Can you please repeat the question? I got 2 times disconnected.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes. So the question was, hold on. It was a private question, so
It's okay.
yes.
No issues.
So, but yeah, so what role do media and popular culture play in shaping attitudes towards women and their rights, and how can they be like helping on to promote such positive changes? So that's the question.
Okay, I was getting an idea. This might be related to some media when I was hearing to Chamitri. Yeah, she was right actually. The media nowadays, I don't know how they are playing this thing out. They don't care about how people think, and they don't value what happens to someone's character when they are playing something out on television. So there actually needs to be some laws related to media, how much they can show and what things has to be kept private. But still, even medias these days are controlled by lawmakers. Some high class people, they control media, they show what they want and they hide what they don't want people to know. This kind of situation happens here also. Some high profile people driving with and hitting some woman on the road who has no any identity, and the news never comes out. Because why the news never comes out? Who was the driver? Whose car was it? The news never comes out. It keeps it is kept hidden. So there should be some laws that prevents happening these things. Like they have to show this kind of thing, and the thing they have to hide is they can't demoralize women on television or any other thing. Media outlets has to be controlled, not in complete way, but they have some freedom. They have to be given some freedom, and they have to be limited to some extent. And actually they even have, they should have some program that keep uh, promoting women awareness. Like they have to have some program that can be played, or they can show how women's empowerment work, what has to be done to promote women in every field, not only by keeping a anchor, or not only by making them reporter, but has to be there some program which can uh, show the women that they can do, and they are yeah, sorry, yeah, and they can achieve what they want. That would be all. I think most of the opinion has been covered by Ms. Chamitri, and I'm not even expert in this thing, so I'm only sharing my opinion. Back to you, Radhya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunil. Yes, so I think we have got another question here. So what legal frameworks exist that may enable or inhibit gender equality and women's empowerment? So yes, can we have the answer for this question, Ms. Jonathan?
I mean, I'm going to attempt this question. I'm not an expert on the legal framework that exists. What I do know through experience by helping women who have been facing domestic abuse, and people who have been rape victims, women who've been treated, who've been harassed in their workplaces, etc., etc. This is just on this question. I do not have, and I'm not an expert in this area, on the legal area. However, I'm going to attempt this question through personal experience. So it's not so much the legal framework, it is how the executors of those legal framework behave. Like I said, I think I previously mentioned this when responding to one of the questions. You have the legal framework that are supposedly protect women. You have it in place, written down on paper. But in practice, if say a domestic abuse victim goes to the police, or a rape victim goes to the police, or a harassment victim goes to the police, or a cybercrime victim, a woman, goes to the police, you are sent from one end to the other. You are harassed by the police, you are harassed by lawyers, and then you go to courts and you are asked extremely invasive, disrespectful questions. Because that's what they do, that's what the system does to silence the voice of the woman. It's always about what the woman has done wrong in order for the man to do wrong. What did you do for the man to behave like that? So our legal framework is not too bad. Of course, we don't have laws that say you have to pay a woman and a man equally if they're doing the same job. We don't have a legal framework that says that. Not just in our country, we don't have it anyway. I don't know how many countries say a woman and a man has to be paid the same if they're doing the same job. I mean, you know, you hear horror stories of how women suppress, they get raped, and you know, because they've had a drink or two, the judgment is on the woman, or because she was wearing a mini skirt, the judgment is on the woman. But what about the woman who gets raped when she's wearing a burqa? You know, those incidents still happen. So it's not about how a person is dressed. It's not about how what a person is doing. It's about how a man needs to understand what the limitations are. Imagine this. I don't know how many men are listening to this, but just imagine this scenario. A man is walking on the street, and there are 5 girls walking behind him, whistling at him, right? Because he's a good-looking guy, he's a hot dude, and you're walking behind him, and you're whistling at him, and you're like calling out names, and you're saying, "Oh, you look hot, and you look this, and you look that," and you're constantly harassing him. Do you think a man would feel comfortable? I don't think anyone is going to feel comfortable, right? So it's about, again, like I said, I do not know what exactly is in a legal framework, but I do know that the legal framework exists. It's the people executing those legal frameworks, the police, the lawyers, the court system, that kind of harasses or rapes the woman the second time around, or abuses the woman the second or third time around, when she goes to get help from the existing legal framework. I don't know if Sunil can add to this. I'm sure he can maybe talk to what exists in Nepal. So I think maybe he can add a bit to this, because I'm not sure I answered your question completely, Nufta, but I hope I was able to provide some sort of background to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chamitri. Yeah, so as Ms. Chamitri told, can we have some addings to this answer, Mr. Sunil?
Even this is tough for me. Legal system, that is not my area of expertise. However, there are laws in our country that support more of to the woman. Like every system, everything start moving when a woman complains. Everything starts taking an action. Like there is no some the way she like. Let us say one example. If a girl goes to the police and complains that someone has raped her, then that basis, first what the law says is to take action to catch the guy. So rest everything will be started after that. But before that, she will be provided support from the police as well. She gets support from family. That is natural, but also she gets support from the law itself. Her privacy, her personal matter, that is protected even from the media as well. So I think we have this kind of laws, but I can't even tell what laws we have. I'm not a law student also, but still, with some of these things are there that supports women. And regarding to gender equality and women empowerment, I would like to add more. Um, there are laws, but still some of the laws are not effective, like laws to stop child marriage, sexual harassment, and programs on women empowerment. There are these things to promote a gender equality, but still there is no much of output. So I think these things has to be revised, or more what we say, fill the gaps, whatever preventing this to happen. Maybe we require some more laws. I'm not expert on this. Sorry. Back to you, Radhia.
Thank you, Mr. Sunil. Yes, so we got another question here. So the question is, how do we address the wage gap for female minorities and mothers? So from whom can I get the answer?
I have a short response, and then Sunil can add maybe. I think I don't, again, like Sunil said in the previous response, there are so many laws that exist, but enforcing it is the problem. So bringing in laws for anything is I mean, like for your first question was about women in politics and women in leadership. We have a quota system that ensures nomination, but then nobody votes for them. So there we have a very low percentage of female policymakers in parliament. Now, you can bring in laws, but you can't force people to, adhere to them, and you have to be able to enforce them. So bringing in laws is not the response to any of this. For me, I would say conversation, awareness, not just limited to Women's Day, not just limited to one day where you make women feel good, whether in school or whether at home, or it's a constant, it's an ongoing conversation that needs to be had throughout the year until we achieve equality, right? So until that happens, until we are comfortable, women have a lot of issues. Society is very uncomfortable talking about a woman's period. We still pay so much to buy our basic needs, right? It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. It's a human thing, and it's still considered taboo. And I have seen many businesses now running advertisements regarding, a packet of sanitary napkins are taxed heavily. For a woman's basic right, we're paying so much. So, like, people, I mean, it's still a taboo topic. People will still look at me weirdly if I bring this topic up in a forum, right? Not just men. It's not just men who are uncomfortable, and that's the sad part. Women are also uncomfortable talking about it. But until we normalize it, because it is a normal thing, it's not something that's out of the ordinary. It is a normal thing to talk about. Until we are comfortable enough to talk about these difficult topics and create awareness and be okay to not cringe when someone hears, oh, I'm on my period, I'm not feeling well, and the men in the room or the other females in the room are like, oh my God, why are you saying it out loud? I am not feeling well. I'm not feeling like I'm up to doing something because I'm on my period. It's a simple thing, but it's a taboo topic. So until we are comfortable in society, both men and women, and that women need to take equal responsibility for, because we are still uncomfortable talking about it. We need to be able to talk about it. And in this question that Litika has asked us about how we address the wage gap for female minorities and mothers, Litika, I would say just continue talking about it. When I don't know if you're working right now. If you are working, make it a constant conversation that happens in your companies. Make it a constant conversation that happens in society. Whether you're sitting in university, whether you're sitting at home, maybe your father runs a company or he's working in a company. Talk to him about it. Make sure he goes back to his workplace and talk about it. It needs to be a continuous conversation, a continuous dialogue where it becomes normal. I know companies like John Keel's have now, they give paternity leave for fathers so that the father also gets time to spend, like has time to spend time with their children. It is important that it's not just the mother that gets maternity leave and spends time with the child. It's important that the father takes equal responsibility and is there at home to help take care of the child. So John Keels has taken that. It's a major step for me. I thought it was very, very 21st century. It was very, very millennial. It was a very good decision. It was a very modern decision, and they have taken it. But companies like John Keels are people who have always been pioneers in the field of making bold decisions. So we need to, now I don't know how many of you knew this. So we need to talk about people who are actually taking steps to correct these measures and bring in corrective measures and praise them in society, so that that is the standard that everyone will aspire to be. And that is how you create change in society. You create a standard where everyone aspires to be, so that slowly but surely we will move towards that standard.
Thank you, Mr. Mitri. I think Litika must have got the answer for his question. Yes, so due to the time constraints and the limitations, we have to end the discussion and the questions round. So as we have reached the end of today's wonderful, insightful discussion with our very loving panelists, Ms. Chamitri Rambukwella and Mr. Vijay Kumar Sa and Mr. Sunil Sa. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time to join us on this insightful discussion about gender equality and women's rights. So, so as a sign of gratitude, we would like you to accept this digital token of appreciation, which is not much a big thing, but we would appreciate like if you could accept this digital token. Thank you, Ms. Chamitri. And also we would like to thank the Rotaract Club of Simara Bara for partnering up with us in initiating this project. So thank you, Mr. Sunil and Mr. Vijay for spending your valuable time with us today.
Thank you, Radia, and all of you who organized this. I think thank you for the token of appreciation as well. I would like to thank you, and I would like to encourage you to continue this conversation wherever you are, in your homes, in your universities, in your workplaces. And I saw a little quote, a quotation that I saw when I was reading up on something, and I want to share that small one with you because I think you're all leaders in your right. So there is a responsibility that comes when you're a leader. Spider-Man says, or Spider-Man's grandfather tells, uncle tells Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. And all of you are very, very powerful people. You do not have to be in a policy-making body to have power. You're all powerful people. You have a voice. Use your voice. Make sure that it is used to stand up for what is right. And when you were made a leader, it's not just that you were given a crown. You're given the responsibility of bringing out the best in others, right? So use that power. Use your voice, all the very best for everything that you'll do for the rest of the year and for the rest of your lives. I wish you all the very best, and I thank Sunil and everyone from Nepal as well who joined in. It was a very interactive and a very good discussion, I felt. And if there's anything else, you can always reach out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'd like to hear some words from our fellow club of Simara Bara as well.
Yeah, thank you, Radia. Thank you, Rotaract Club of Colombo School of Computing. Thank you for having us. This was indeed a great program. We faced some issues in the beginning, but I think everything went smoothly after that. Still, I don't know if I could have done much better than that. I don't know. So still, it was a great event. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
You did great, sir. Thank you very much for having here with us. So yes, so now as we have reached the end of today's event, I would like all of you to turn on your cameras to add this beautiful moment into us. So I will give minutes to turn on your cameras.
Good to see everyone.
So also guys, the virtual background has been shared in the chat box, so you guys can put it as well. So I think everyone has on their cameras. So I think we can take the screening now. So on the count of 3, I'll be taking the screening. Hold on. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Thank you, guys. So that brings today's session, Sound of Her Voice, to a conclusion. Very insightful discussion, the women's rights and gender equality. So I would like to once again thank our panelists for the day, Ms. Chamitri Rambukwella and Mr. Vijay Kumar Shah, for joining with us today on sharing your valuable thoughts and experiences in this discussion. So also I would like to thank the Rotary Club of Colombo Downtown, Rotaract Club of Simara, Bara, and Intract Club of Mahanama College for their support and partnering up with us on making this event a success. Also, I would like to thank Rotaractor Lavinka Virasekara, the president of the Rotaract Club of UCSC, and Rotaractor Pamudi Guruge, the director of International Relations Avenue, for guiding us and giving us their maximum support throughout the event. Also, another thank Kingo Ozao to our editorial members and also the people behind this event, our very own organizing committee, in concluding this event successfully. Last but not least, a huge thanks to our wonderful audience who joined with us today and who also shared their valuable thoughts and opinions with us. So once again, thank you everyone in joining with us today. So with this note, I'll be wrapping up. Women should have equal rights and should be treated equally and more specially. And as to my opinion, as Chamitri told, every day is a Women's Day. So let's respect them and value them. So until we meet again with another exciting event, me, the moderator, will be signing off for tonight. Thank you once again for everyone for joining with us today, and stay safe. Good night, guys.